Good morning and happy Tuesday, everybody. I'm Nathan Kratz with Prevention Action Alliance. I'm here with our Executive Director, Marcy Seidel, who's going to tell you a little bit about the state of things here in Ohio and how we can advocate for a better, healthier Ohio. Marcy?
Good morning, everyone. It's a delight to be with you this morning. It's a beautiful May day, and I would just as much rather be sitting outside in the sun and in the cool breeze, but we have things to look at and do. Today is Election Day, and I say often in my history and career that but voting is a right, a privilege, and a responsibility. So I hope all of you will take the opportunity to go do that today. Sometimes in primaries, people think there's nothing on the ballot and there's nothing that will change the outcomes of what our life will be like in the future, but that's far from the truth. Every election has something that assists and changes our lives and improves our lives or make things more difficult. So I encourage you to get out and to vote today. The Ohio House of Representatives and the Ohio Senate are currently out of session, and the main reason is because of today's primary. There's the House and certainly senators and almost every statewide elected official is in some sort of a primary today, or if they're not in the being opposed in the primary, they certainly are out there continuing to get their name out and preparing for the fall election. So not much is happening there. And in fact, nothing has happened in the House and the Senate at all. There are no committees scheduled. There actually have not been even in town. Most of them are out into their districts working. So we're not seeing any activity whatsoever, which reflects in our weekly legislative update, and certainly today in our advocacy webinar. There's not a lot to talk about, so I have a feeling it'll be a very short webinar unless you all have some questions or things that you would like to discuss, and we're certainly open and encouraging that as well. I'm not sure when they will be back in session. The last that I heard was they would be back towards the end of this month to do a few cleanup things and then maybe some in June, but then they'll be off for the majority of the summer and then come back in for the after the election and the midterms in November and finish out the rest of the year in the final sessions and then close down this General Assembly, and we'll be prepared to start a new General Assembly in January. We did hear from the Senate side of things that they feel like everything that they felt was a priority in their bucket of things to do has been taken care of. So the things that they come back to address now are not their priority. That doesn't say that they will not get anything accomplished, but it doesn't mean that they have any urgency to the things that they will be looking at. Okay, next slide. There's always something to talk about in medical marijuana here in the state of Ohio. We're still in the process of getting the dispensaries and the processing applications looked at so that the licenses can be rolled out here either by the end of this month or in June for sure. So not anything that we can discuss at this point. It's just a waiting game to see what will happen. Also, we just did find out that the state auditor came out with has found another problem with the regulator and the growers of the medical marijuana program. For example, one of the applicants was marked and scored inappropriately and should have, according to a chief deputy inspector, should have been disqualified, but was not. At the end of it, all of this sort of hullabaloo around it, the Department of Commerce has indicated that they acknowledged that there was a difference in the scoring, but in the end, the final scores were accurate and there was no need to pull the license from that particular cultivator. So it continues to go on. I suspect, in my own personal opinion, that once the primary is over, maybe some of this will slow down a little bit, but maybe not. It could be ramped up again around the election time, just to make sure that everybody knows that they're on top of these issues. And we want them to be on top of that anyway. Okay, next slide here. We have found some interesting things throughout the last few weeks about from other states that I'd just like to share with you to give you an idea of what may be in our future, or what will perhaps affect what's happening with our current medical marijuana program. The small business, the U.S. Small Business Administration sets up rules, and one of the rules that they quietly, very quietly, kind of under the radar, put into effect on April 3rd was that it's tightening its lending rules to prohibit banks from using Small Business Administration-backed loans to finance any business that has a direct interaction with the marijuana industry. And this is big because a lot of the marijuana industries that are cropping up in states where it's been legalized are small businesses, and when they can't get the capital through small business loan administration, which is often the case for these smaller businesses, it puts a kind of a hamper on what they can or cannot do. We know that medical marijuana now is legal in 29 states for medicine, and then for recreational use, there's 9 states that have it. So this is becoming a very significant way of sort of sub-controlling this industry by doing this type of thing. So you may see more of this type of things coming out in the future, where regulations at the federal level, where it still remains illegal, can impact what's happening in the states, even though it's legal in the states. So this will be, I think, a really interesting thing to watch, and we will keep you updated on it. The other piece that's happening is in Colorado. We just got a notification that or not Colorado, but in California, that it's really showing what we're fearing and watching starting to happen in the state of Ohio, and that is just big lobbyists are coming in to lobby in the marijuana industry. And so they're starting to replicate and become as strong as you will see the alcohol industry, the tobacco industry, and the big pharmaceuticals industry. They have a lot of money, and their cash out in California is really going in the political system, where just hundreds and thousands of dollars are being pumped into campaigns, into individuals that have influence in the state of California. And in one case, there is a bill that's in a committee in California, where this bill would make it easier for people to buy legal marijuana. And the bill that was in the committee is one that would stop cities from banning delivery services that sell pot to customers at the doorsteps. So despite what a local community wants to do, if they do not want this kind of delivery system or the sales of marijuana in their locations, this bill will override it, since the state takes preempts anything that happens at the local level. And this is going to be a dangerous precedent as far as I can tell, because if they can start to chip away, the lobbies can start to chip away at little bills like this, it will continue to grow and could be big bills. We know that in California, 1 out of 7 districts is allowed to sell marijuana. The other 6 say we don't want it in our communities, and they have voted it out. And in Colorado, 75% of the municipalities and townships have said we don't want marijuana in our locales. And again, bills like this could preempt people who want to make that choice of how their community looks. This is important things to watch, and we'll stay on top of it, but this is something for us to start to advocate and to watch for, that this doesn't happen here in Ohio, even though we are only in the medical marijuana stage of things, and the state of Ohio has done a really good job, we believe, of controlling where they go and how, and giving the states, or giving the cities and municipalities all the leverage that they can to put the rules and things into place. This can change at any time through a ballot initiative, or by big money coming in and finding the right legislators to try to sway their votes and turn their opinions on this. So again, this is something that I think is very critical for us to take a look at and to watch. Colorado, Another tidbit coming out that we want to talk about is that Colorado's governor is not, a headline came out, is that he's not ruling out the banning of pot again or marijuana again, citing that crime is the factor. In Colorado, about 5% of the increase in crime has happened since the legalization of marijuana. And while everyone has a different opinion, and there's no way we can really tell at this point whether it's causational or whether it's correlating as to whether the crime is going up because of the sales of marijuana or not. The fact remains there is a correlation between them, and he's looking to watch this in the state, knowing that the genie is out of the bottle, and that we don't want to there's just really difficult to get it back in the bottle once you legalize something. And they're seeing things in Colorado like more homeless individuals, the crime is increasing, the black market is not going away. More young people are getting in trouble in their high schools and middle schools because of the use of marijuana. So this isn't as rosy as a lot of people want to paint the picture. And this is something for us to keep in mind, because we know that that full legalization of marijuana will hit Ohio again, possibly this fall, although we think it's unlikely, but there's at least 2 different groups out there that are talking about it. One group that's actually collecting signatures to make sure that their ballot petitions language match the ballot language, and they've tried that once before, submitting it to the Attorney General's office, and the 2 languages did not match up, so they went back out to revise the language and then to get another 1,000 signatures. I doubt, because of this slowdown, that will happen and it will be on the ballot this year, but I have no doubt that there's a good chance that it will become maybe next year, but most likely I think in 2020, when there will be a presidential election. I think that's when we'll see full legalization of marijuana hit our ballot again. So things for us to think about, keep on top of, because we can't let our guard down as to the changing times in the state of Ohio. The governor this week rolled out a new set of rules. He's done this before around opiates, and the rules that he rolled out before, though, are things where you have a surgical procedure or something done, whether it be a dental procedure or an accident or something that happens to put you into a pain situation in the emergency room, so that you don't get a month, 2 months, 3 months worth of opioids just for an injury type of situation. So that has worked really well. I know this from firsthand, that after an injury that I had where I was in the ER, they only gave me 5 very mild opiate pills, which I didn't even want or need. But normally, prior to this and these new rules, I would have gotten probably about 30 or 60 days worth of pills that I would have had to figure out how to dispose of quickly. To play upon that and build upon it, actually, the governor has rolled out some new ones that focus on people that live with chronic pain or subacute pain. That is, when chronic pain is for those individuals that have an ongoing, lasting more than 12 weeks worth of pain or maybe more. And the subacute chronic or pain is one which lasts 6 to 12 weeks, which is a little bit more urgent than people that have just an immediate pain problem from an accident. Based on this, he wants to take a look at, making sure that patients who are in a chronic pain situation, that they're reevaluated and watched very closely by their physicians. And they've put in some periodic checkpoints or safety checkpoints, so that when patients may be increased to larger doses of painkillers, which will probably happen if it's a chronic pain and they've been on them for a long period of time, because their ability to handle the pain goes, they get used to the pain medication and it continues to grow, that they need higher pain meds. So this could actually happen. And so when these checkpoints happen, they have a morphine standard, just as the gold is the the standard for all currency. Morphine is the standard for pain medication. So based on the equivalence of morphine, as they increased the painkillers with that morphine equivalent, each checkpoint that they reach, that a new set of things has to happen. They have to have an agreement with the patient about what's happening. As it moves on up the chain, they will have to bring in another pain specialist to be able to monitor what's going on. As they continue to move up, they will have to consider getting a prescription for naloxone to have in the house just in case there's a problem with overdosing. And so these checkpoints are in place. However, people need not be worried about this, because as it applies to people who have been in chronic pain for a long periods of time, people who are in hospice care, people that are in palliative care, people with terminal conditions, they will not lose their medication. Those medications will continue just as they have with their patient-doctor relationship, and will not happen. All this does is just allow us to be more aware of the strength and the addictiveness of these painkillers, and to make sure that we're not giving them or prescribing them indiscriminately, that non-opioid medications are indeed being considered as well, not only opiate medications. So with all of these considerations in place, we hope that the prescription of opioids dispensed in Ohio continues to decrease. Back in 2012, we had 793 million opioids dispensed in Ohio, and in 2017, that's dropped to 568 million. So we can see that we're on the way down of having these in circulation that could possibly be diverted. So just wanted to make you aware of that. One of our hopes is that that you are aware of these types of things that are going on, and certainly can talk to your friends and your fellow advocates on this thing, and certainly your healthcare providers, so that they know about it as well. And we can make sure that we have fewer opioids on the market if we don't need to have them on the market. The last thing that I want to talk about today is that I got a call this week from a woman in northern Kentucky who was seeing in their communities down there that these food deliveries and these food pickup or grocery pickups in the community that are becoming very popular. Kroger has it, Giant Eagle has it, Walmart has it, Amazon has it, where you can just go online, order your groceries, then you can either pick it up or they will be delivered to your house. What they're finding in their community in northern Kentucky is that they're not being carded when alcohol is delivered to the house. So there is a problem with the potential of a young person underage using their parents' information to order things online and have it delivered or picked up, and no one is looking at to make sure that this is a legal sale. She called and asked if we were seeing that in the state of Ohio, and I had to be very honest with her and said it was not on my radar, but it certainly is something we need to be considered and concerned about. So what I'm asking for all of you today is to take a look in your own communities to see what's happening in your communities around these particular sales. Just an informal environmental scan to see if, in fact, there are procedures in place for when these particular orders are being handled, and to make sure that alcohol doesn't fall into the hands of young people or underage people. So we would like to do get in and take a look at this, find out if there's any problems with it. Then we would like to see and gather, and if you can help us out with this, we'd appreciate this too, is to find out what the company's policies are. I know Kroger has a policy that they have. It's not a very extensive policy, but it does have a policy. According to this individual in Kentucky, the stores that she was dealing with were not even following the policy that was in place by the parent organization. So we want to see what kind of policies are in place. We want to see if this is being actually handled. And then it's an opportunity for us to do some advocacy about it. And that is to inform the companies and to inform the the people in our community that the potential for this is here, and then to maybe to put together some best policy practices of what stores can do to make sure that they are following the law in their own communities. And of course, we all know that no one under the age of 21 can purchase alcohol products. So we need to take this opportunity to see, in fact, that the laws are being followed and our young people are being safe. So if you could let us know here at Prevention Action Alliance if what you find out in doing this, or if you know firsthand about any of that, we'd be willing to talk about that today. So that's all I have right now. Willing to take any questions you have. So thank you for your attention.
And thank you, Marcy. I haven't seen any questions, but I did want to point out that Flora Popno, I hope I'm saying that right, said that in Cincinnati she was carded buying alcohol, but she noted that the kids who were putting it in her car were actually high school students. So there may be something to work on around there as well over who's handling the alcohol. And I know also from my own experience, oh, nope, I hear, sorry, this is Nicole Scheisler. I hope I said that one right. But I know also that the whole mail order delivery system is also an issue with vaping devices as well. People are getting, they'll find creative ways to purchase them, maybe a gift card. I know there's some cracking down of that, but I'm sure there's still some places where you can use a gift card or a prepaid credit card or debit card in order to purchase a device that you're not old enough to purchase and have it shipped to a friend's address or something of that nature. So that's another area where we can look into some advocacy, I think, is, making sure that anyone who sells a product that is controlled by the age of the recipient is getting is following the law in terms of making sure that it's staying out of the wrong hands. If there are no other questions, I don't see any, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. As always, you will be able to find this presentation on our YouTube channel, which is called Drug Free Action, youtube.com/drugfreeaction. We'll also be sending out a link to it in the future advocacy emails, and you should all receive your certificate with it by the end of the day. If you don't, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you all for joining us. Have a happy Tuesday, and don't forget to vote.